Shalom WJC family. It's time for our weekly Torah Talk. This week in Shul, we will be reading Parshat Ekev. Ekev is now getting on in Deuteronomy through Moshe's speech to the people. And in one of these sections of his speech, he starts out, Kol ha-mitzvah asher anochi mitzavcha hayom tishmerum la'asot. And it's translated, you shall faithfully observe all the instruction that I enjoin upon you today. Kol ha-mitzvah. All the instruction is a translation here on Sefaria, which is a good translation, but literally it means all of a mitzvah, or more actually all of the mitzvah, right? Do all of the mitzvah that I command you today, and then it says you're going to live long on the land that I promised to your ancestors if you do that. So the question I want to explore today is what exactly is the mitzvah? If we take it literally, what could it mean that there is one mitzvah that we are supposed to observe? And if we do this one mitzvah, we will be getting Judaism right. When someone asks you, what does it mean to be Jewish? You may answer, as probably you were taught, it means belief in one God. But the truth is, Judaism isn't really a religion about belief. It is, but it's about that belief in action. And so to really understand Judaism, it's not the one belief that we need to figure out, it's the one action we need to figure out. And so I wanted to look at some of the commentaries on this one mitzvah. Now, the way a midrash called Tanchuma answers this question, and it's quoted by the commentator Rashi, around the time of the Crusades in southern France, Rashi says, and Tanchuma says from much, much earlier, when it says kol ha-mitzvah, it means a whole mitzvah. It means you don't get any credit just for doing part of a mitzvah. A lot of people have good intentions, but unless you carry them through to actually put the good in the world, to do the thing that the mitzvah is, you don't get credit. So, for example, setting aside some money for tzedakah, but not actually giving tzedakah, you get no credit for setting aside the money. You have to do a whole mitzvah. Good advice, and I think there's something to be said for this idea that even 1,000 years ago, almost, Rashi was aware of, that we start a lot of things with good intentions, but the follow-through isn't always there to teach us that when it comes to Torah, when it comes to Jewish living and Jewish life, we need to do a complete mitzvah. We need to complete everything. Another medieval commentator, Sforno, from around 1475 in Italy, he does what Midrash often does, or commentators often do. This is the beginning of chapter 8. He looks to the last verses in chapter 7, which were about idolatry. And he says, the objective of this, when it says, this mitzvah, kol ha-mitzvah, it says, do not worship idols, because that's what the end of the previous chapter was about. That's a pretty good way of saying it. Like, don't worship idols is another expression of belief in one God, right? You could make a good argument that the crux of Judaism is to avoid idolatry. Now, we may say that's easy for us in modern times, but maybe we just need to broaden our idea of idols. What are the things that we worship? Money and fame and style and all those kinds of material things. So maybe we have new kinds of idols. And Sforno says, no. This is what it says. It follows right after. Kol ha-mitzvah means don't commit idolatry, and that means in our hearts in any way, not necessarily just the statues of other gods that we think of in our head. I think a valid perspective, but I want to go deeper. So we'll look at the Sfat Emet, Hasidic commentator who says, all of the commandment implies extracting every maximum gain from a mitzvah by accessing its inner energy, right? That kol ha-mitzvah means the whole mitzvah, that when you do a mitzvah, you shouldn't just do it. When you give tzedakah, it's not a matter of just giving a bit of tzedakah, but you need to really dig deep into yourself. Why am I giving this tzedakah? Is it for some personal gain? Is it because I believe that the person I'm helping is a creation of God and therefore it's my job to help? But really dig deep to uncover all of the energy that's within that mitzvah, to get all of that sacred energy out of it. Right, so that's a beautiful and profound idea, right? There's doing a mitzvah, and then there's doing a mitzvah, right? Take davening, for example. We can say all the prayers we're supposed to say in the morning and check the box. Okay, I said the Kriyat Shema. Okay, I said the Amida. Okay, Aleinu, great, I'm done. But did that unlock all of the energy of the mitzvah? No, to unlock all of the energy of mitzvah, of prayer, it requires study, a lifetime of study, to understand the meaning of the prayers, and then the deeper philosophical meaning of the prayers, and then the personal meaning of the prayers, and then how to integrate those prayers into our everyday life. Each layer peeled back on these beautiful words that were arranged over 1,000 years ago on our behalf, for the most part. Each of those then unlocks a layer of spiritual energy for us. The Sfat Emet, Kol HaMitzvah, do all of the mitzvah. But let's go even deeper. We have Hillel and Rabbi Akiva, who very famously gave their idea of what's the one thing, the one mitzvah. Hillel said when a potential convert, someone who wanted to become Jewish, came to him and said, "Tell me the whole Torah on one foot." He said, "That which is hateful to you, do not do to another." That is the entire Torah. The rest is only commentary. Now go and study. Now for Hillel, it had to do with how we treat each other. You shouldn't do to someone else what you would not have done to you. Similarly, Rabbi Akiva once said, what is the greatest principle of the Torah? Another verse from Deuteronomy, V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. Another verse from the Torah, V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. That is klal gadol b'Torah. That, love your neighbor as yourself, that is the greatest principle of the Torah. All the other mitzvot are merely expressions of love your neighbor as yourself, says Rabbi Akiva. Now that requires some unpacking. What does he mean? If I am involved in worshiping God, how is that loving my neighbor as myself? Not going to unpack it now. But these ideas that the core principle of Torah, that all the other mitzvot fall under the category of either don't do unto others what you haven't done to yourself, or love your neighbor as yourself. This is a whole school of thought in Judaism. So when someone asks you what Judaism is about, maybe we shouldn't say worship of one God. Maybe it should be organizing our society according to the principle of loving your neighbor as yourself, or not doing unto others what you wouldn't have done unto you. Maybe that's Kol HaMitzvah. Maybe that's sucking the deep spiritual energy of a mitzvah, is to understand how it relates to those principles. Okay, one more deep dive. In Pirkei Avot, one of my favorite Pirkei Avot Mishnahs, 2:8, Rebbe Yochanan, sort of the founder of rabbinic Judaism after the destruction of the temple, he had 5-star pupils. And he said, go out into the world and find out what is the derech, what is the right way to which a person should cleave? What's the path they should follow? In other words, what is the core path of Judaism? And they all came back. And Rabbi Eliezer said, a good eye. We can interpret what that means, but maybe to see the holiness in everything around us, something like that. Rabbi Yehoshua said they should be on the path of a good companion, meaning they should be a good journeyer through this life with the people around them. Rabbi Yossi said a good neighbor, right? Meaning that not only for the people they know, their companions on the journey, should they be good, but Rabbi Yossi broadens it, that even neighbors who they might not know, but just who live around them, for them they should be good. That's the path that the Torah demands. That's the one principle we should follow. Rabbi Shimon says they should have foresight. They should have, and the commentary on that says, they should predict what their actions, what the results of their actions will be, and act accordingly. A thoughtful, a mindful life, which is, I think, one that we can appreciate in modern terms. Rabbi Elazar says, now the 5th student, he says, one should have a good heart. So what does it mean to have a good heart? Rabbi Yochanan says to his students, I prefer the words of Elazar ben Aruch, Rabbi Elazar, for in his words all the others are included. Right? That the principle that is the guiding principle of Judaism is have a good heart. And what does that mean? That means have a good eye and be a good companion and be a good neighbor and live your life with foresight. All of that. What does it mean to be Jewish? What is the one cardinal mitzvah you must do? Have a good heart. Live by listening to your heart and doing as it tells. All of these ideas, right? When we do any mitzvah, this is the kol ha-mitzvah. This is the Sfat Emet's idea of a deeper energy. To do the mitzvah, we have to be linking it to our good heart or our will to help those around us or our will to not do idolatry by recognizing the holiness of God in the world or by doing these mitzvot to draw that holiness into the world or to be a reflection of that holiness in the world, right? When someone asks you what it means to be Jewish, you won't be wrong if you say, oh, it means to believe in one God. But I don't think it's telling the whole story. The whole story is somewhere in a good heart. It's somewhere in v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, loving your neighbor as yourself. It's somewhere in doing kol ha-mitzvah, doing a complete action of a mitzvah, connected to all of this, such that we can appreciate our place in the world and help others, to help to raise up the place in the world of others. Maybe that is the one mitzvah that we should dedicate ourselves to. And when we do, the rest is commentary. The rest of the mitzvot should fall into place. Shabbat Shalom.